Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking a look here, of course, at XRP Ripple, seeing what's going on, helping you understand best practice and big picture. And my community has been taking a killing off both longs and shorts from XRP. So kudos and congratulations to a lot of my members. I just think it's fantastic that you guys are really kind of banding together and just I don't know, you're impressing me. So well done. A lot of these folks are my graduates of my trading academy or just in general. Love communicating with other traders and learning from each other, right? We have a day trading section where everyone just kind of bounces ideas off each other. It's a really cool experience. So be sure to check that out in your own time. CryptoCash.tech is the website. Link in the description below. The other thing you should definitely check out is Bitget exchange. They are phenomenal. I know the name seems kind of funny, but it's my favorite exchange of all time. And the main reason why is because they have a phenomenal level 2 data. They allow for leverage in the United States without a VPN. And it's just an ease to use. Like Bybit, for example, you have to use like a Google Authenticator. Bitget just has a little thumbprint there. It's just so much easier to use. And of course, bonus here is the fact that they transfer a healthy amount of USDT into your account if you were to use their exchange and trade with volume. Keep in mind you have to use the exchange, but generally speaking, a lot of folks are benefiting from this. So if you want that for yourself before November 30th, go ahead and register. So here's where we're at for XRP. Let's go ahead and just kind of get this, get the elephant in the room taken care of here. Obviously, there was a pretty significant sell-off yesterday. Okay, now that happens when coins are overextended, like XRP is, right? Profitable coins. Not a lot of coins right now can say or do as well as XRP has, right? So in that sense, that's a very positive sign. It really helps us understand that we have a strong support in the range of just say 46 to 52 cents. Now, if we were to take a look at the volume, we can kind of understand that there is the most amount of volume accumulation minus the initial. Down there, of course, before the price increased is right at 49.5 cents. That's exactly where the price action is at right now. So it kind of gives us the reaffirmation that we have a nice little support zone here, if you will, because you can see all this volume. It's kind of giving us that support area, right? So, that's positive in the sense that if you're above the support areas, then that's more likely to work as a support, right? Because that red line kind of tells us that that's the most amount of volume accumulation in the recent past, the last 2-3 weeks of trading. Okay, so that's a positive thing, and I think volume is a very important thing to look at. I think it speaks a lot louder than some other indicators, so don't be afraid to use volume and to understand that with higher volume breeds better results in a lot of cases, at least in the direction you're wanting to head. To touch on volume too, we can see that volume is kind of just averaging itself out lately. Nothing significant, nothing crazy, but higher than the previous time frame. So it does show that there's a lot more interest in XRP and a lot more volume, which is important. We look at the RSI, we can see we're below 70 but over 50, kind of just giving us that affirmation that we're still bullish in the general sense of things. This ascending trend, while we did kind of break below it, we haven't closed below it yet, so that's still a very positive sign. Okay, so that could imply that we have further upside here for XRP. I believe that Bitcoin will increase over the next couple of days, leading into CPI data, and once that is released, of course, we'll have a tumultuous type of increase versus decrease. It gets a little crazy, but generally speaking, I think the overall sense should average itself out higher unless we have some crazy, terrible adverse data. Okay, again, that could happen. The world that we're in right now is a funky place. Those things are all factoring in. Traditional markets are down, dollar index is up. It's just kind of one of those things. So taking a look at the MACD, we can see we got a divergence on the daily. Obviously, you're going to have that kind of response when you have this large of a position here. In other words, when you have, what was that? Let's see how much the sell-off was. It's like 8% in one day. That's a pretty significant margin, right? So an 8% red day is going to cause the MACD to kind of diverge, so to speak. What we want to look at is the moving averages here. We can see the 20-day set moving average is still working concurrent and holding as a support level with the ascending trend. We can recognize that. We've got the 200-day set moving average working as a support level. Hopefully it'll average itself out a little bit higher. That'll work as a support too. So we've got a lot of positive stuff here. I like that the daily is above all the moving averages and still holding very strong. That's a good sign for the big picture. I think XRP has great potential in that regard. So good coin to just add to your hodl bag, right? Taking a look at the 4-hour, we can go ahead and see, of course, that TD sequential, we came down to an 8 and got a reset. So it doesn't necessarily imply we're just going to see a bounce because of that. It doesn't always happen, but it does imply that further downside is less likely at this point, especially since our candlestick closures are close to our most recent lows. So that's a very positive sign in a general sense. Keep in mind, it could imply that we have further downside. There is definitely still potential for that. We can't rule it out. So until that time, We want to go ahead and kind of pay attention to this descending trend and kind of see if it's able to break back up above. Let's go ahead and take a look, of course, at some of the moving averages. Really quick here, we are underneath the 50, so that's working as a resistance level on the ascending trend. So that we got the 20 working as a support on the daily, but the 50 working as a resistance on the 4 hour. Which carries more weight? Well, in most cases, the daily, because it's a larger time frame and it's a slower moving average, so in essence that's more stronger. But again, you can't underestimate the 50 on the SMA here as well. So this could imply that we're going to stay below this trend line and continue further down. All right, just being honest, that could very well be the case. Good news is the MACD is diverging here. Yes, of course, but it's losing its momentum. Okay, so it's starting to dissipate, and that's a very positive sign. Okay, so in that sense, if it were to do that and continue, then we're going to see a situation whereas the price action should continue higher based on that slowly losing its momentum to the downside. But the truth here is that we are underneath a key level resistance, which is 50 on the RSI. Again, the 4 hour 50 on the RSI isn't as impactful as a daily, but it's still a thing, right? So just keep in mind, we could have further downside if the price were to come back down to 30 to say hypothetically, we'll probably see a retest of 46.7 cents. That should likely be the most immediate bottom in the relative near future based on previous support levels, but generally speaking, that's kind of where we're at there. I would say the 4 hour is kind of drawn dead. There's not a lot of awesome information here, some conflicting info, but the daily still looks good, so I'd say we're slightly more positive in the general sense of things. When it comes to the hourly, what we want to obviously look at, and these are my two factors that I'll always try to identify, is first of all, over-exhaustion. So when you have, just say, 2 nines in a row on TD sequential on whatever time frame, the likelihood of a pullback is greater. In other words, we see 1 9 here, basically telling us we had 9 hours continuation of the downside, and then of course there was an extra 4 or 5 hours until it hit that exhaustive state. Comes up to bounce off this resistance level, comes all the way back down to another 9, and went into overtime for another 4 or 5 hours, and now we're back up to a 5. So what that all means, the translation here, is the fact that we've got 2 nines on TD sequential, both overextended, so the likelihood of the price action coming up to try to retest its most recent high is greater, okay? So, I mean, there's a strong likelihood 52 cents will reject off of that because that was a previous support level, but in general, what we're looking for here is for this next high to be higher than the previous, okay? I mean, technically the first thing you're looking for, let me rephrase that, is to see a higher low. So with this low here, obviously you can see lower lows, right? They're both printing 9s. If this next one comes up here and does one of these, then we got a higher low, and that's a good sign. That's the first step to a trend reversal. Second step, of course, is for our next high to inevitably be higher than this one to allow for us to have higher highs and higher lows and to break that previous resistance. Okay, so that's kind of just generally what I would be looking for. So TD sequential is really telling us a lot here that we are extremely overexhausted to the downside. The cloud is telling us as well that while you should still leave your short position open, the likelihood of closing it is coming to an end. In other words, you want to consider taking some profits on your short because the likelihood is higher that it's going to continue upwards from here. Okay, so again, conversion lines below the baseline, lagging spans free and clear, and of course the price actions below the cloud. Those are all signs to take a short position, but I think it's a little late to take a short at this point considering Bitcoin's on the recovery and it will likely continue to increase. That's my speculation. I feel like Bitcoin's going to continue higher. It just kind of has that way about it right now. Okay, so that's just kind of where we're at. So if XRP does well, if Bitcoin does well, then XRP is going to do even better. We've seen that happen. So I think we still have more likelihood of upside than downside for XRP. That's my speculation here. All right, so that is everything here. Pretty much the gist here is that we have slightly more positive than negative. This candlestick here today, if it closes close to where it's at, that's a hammer up / dragonfly doji. Those are all positive signs. That kind of signals a reversal. You can see we had the same exact thing here. Okay, so it's fairly common for that to happen. So all in all, really good shape here. I think in the next couple of hours we'll have pretty good confirmation if XRP we should take another long or potentially consider a short. I hope that you learned something here today. Again, become a community member if you'd like to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech. Also, make sure you take advantage of that Bitget bonus with the transfer funds there before November 30th. Make sure you use my link in the description below. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.